Thank you for listening to the Tattness podcast on the Tattness Co. Network.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A Mercedes kind of sentiment, luxury, and trust in me to honor the free we all should be. It sees my sundial burst into yin and yang, right and left me.
What's up, you guys? What's cracking? It's your boy Tattness. Thank you for checking out the Tattness podcast. Not gonna bullshit y'all. A little bit agitated right now because, as you know, I pre-record my shows. I will be going live at some point in the near future, I think that's just the move. But I've been trying to record this fucking intro for minutes now, and there's always got to be a couple of those small dick motherfuckers with their loud ass engines just revving it at a fucking red light. You know, it is what it is. Whatever amuses y'all. I don't really care. It's fine. I get to do this for a living. I don't give a shit. I just thought we could all relate. But anyways, I wanted to thank you guys, man, for just being so supportive of my guests. Not that, you know, it requires any coaxing to fucking listen to these legends I've had. But tonight, I've got this guest, and again, it's pre-recorded. You know this by now. You know the drill. It's not fucking new. I've had this show in the barrel for a minute. But my guest is an up-and-coming rapper, and he's on SoundCloud and other platforms, but that's his go-to, that's his main, where you can check him out, show some love, show some support, and he's got a great fucking story as a human being. That got him, like, this cat sold his house to support his music career, so you know he believes in it. I mean, that's some fucking professional level shit. That's one of those stories that's just going to be so epic that when he blows up and becomes a celebrity, you know, y'all think my story is pretty crazy as a celebrity, and it's like, dude, when this cat blows up into a celebrity status, his story is going to be just as dope and just, like, you know, as inspiring as anybody's. I mean, he sold his house to, you know, support his music career, and that shows he really believes in it. You know, he was obviously getting that gut feeling that this is the right move for him. This is the right career path for him, and I think if you listen to his work, you might agree. I think so. So check him out. This is my boy Nate Soundz. He's actually a really talented cat. He's a rapper who was actually more influenced by rock and metal back in the day, but he had a respect for rap. So I think it's an interesting story that you might appreciate. And his personal life has not been easy. And I feel, I've said this before, and I stand by it. I feel like every person, like myself especially, you know, I can relate. But I think every person that, you know, I know that has a level of success that becomes famous, they always have this story of a really hard life prior. I feel like the most successful people are the ones that go through the most shit. It's just like it's an ambition creator, I think. And this cat has had it pretty hard. So I think you will appreciate his story, maybe relate to it as well. He's, you know, former military and all these other things, man. He's gone through the relationship losses and shit like that we can all relate to, and it's a touching story, I think, personally. And I think that art was his savior. It's I think there's a lot to be said for that, when art becomes what makes you happy in an otherwise kind of depressing fucking situation. You know, it is what it is. I feel like we all find our outlet, and we're all human, and this cat just made the best of a bad situation. So check it out, man. Give him some love on SoundCloud, and let him know that you dig his work. I think he deserves that. Check it out. All right, so how's it going, brother?
Pretty good, man. Where are you located at, by the way?
Nova Scotia, Canada.
Okay, Canada. I've only been to Canada once, and I was living in upper state New York, and I went from, let's see, Watertown. I crossed over. I don't remember the little town I went to, but there was it was pretty sweet because I had a buddy come visit me, and at the time, my wife and my buddy and me, we went across state or across country, and you go over the other side of the bridge, and it's like, you're in Canada. It's nicer, the water's cleaner, it's just like more peaceful. I don't know, I didn't know how to explain it. And I've been into other countries and other states, and I like never felt comfortable there. I don't know what it is about Canada, man, but I feel good in Canada.
Yeah, I used to live in Niagara Falls area, just on the other side of that bridge. So yeah, I probably can figure out what small town you ended up in, because I probably lived in it for a little bit. I've moved around a ton. I think there's like probably about 15 cities off the top of my head that I can think of I've lived in. So.
I remember it was a 2-story bar, and they were having a Bud Light and a Budweiser kind of promotion, and the Budweiser and the Bud Light girls were there, and my buddy was taking pictures with them and everything. I just remember distinctly it was 2 stories, and there's like a case of stairs that went down in the middle, and like 2 stairs that went up on the side. So there's 4 stairs total, and it was kind of neat the way the layout was. It was kind of tight too, but it was just popping. And I never been anything involved with anything like that. I was like 18 years old, 19 in the Army. Just acting tough and trying to have a good time.
I did the military thing myself too, and the waiting list over here is ridiculous, man.
To join the military?
Well, like once you qualify, to get into like your trades and things that you qualify for, it was
wow.
3-year waiting list minimum.
Yeah, so over here they like beg you,
Right, it's so different.
$20,000 signing bonuses and shit like that.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. I didn't get none of that.
I don't like it, honestly. I mean, I think it's unhealthy. It's almost like politics, which I don't get into much, but I have some opinions about it. And it's like the whole idea of office and the role of office, and the whole idea of like a role of a soldier and stuff. It should be something you definitely want to do. Like you have to take the personal effort. They shouldn't be asking for anybody to do that sort of job.
Right.
So.
And I found in this country too, I mean, it's become a business. They do credit checks. They want to know if you've ever been suspended from school, shit like that. It's not about your country anymore. It's a fucking business, it's insane. So it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, and I don't know if what it was ever what they were selling it as. Now that I'm older, I was younger when I was in, and I can reflect on all of it and, see what happened sort of thing. I feel like there's a place for military, but I don't really know what it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the original idea of a military is protect you from other people, and other people now, we didn't really know much about other people. But now we've got FLIRV, and we've got, all these sorts of devices that we can communicate with each other from across the way. And I don't really know what the point of having, mass weapons and having armies and growing them and stuff. I don't know what the whole purpose is.
Right. I have to agree with you, especially, you got your hardcore patriotic Americans on social media that talk about, our soldiers are defending our freedom. I'm like, who's going to fuck with America at this point? Like, I don't think your freedom is under attack at this point.
And there's places where I know that their freedoms might be, and I don't know exactly how to approach that either. But I know that, like, who's gonna fuck with Australia? You know what I mean? Like, this is a tiny country. Who's gonna fuck with Indiana? It's like if we just kick them out and say, we don't want you no more. The idea that collectively humans would allow that anymore it's really odd. Like, it's odd to me that North Korea still exist. North and South Korea still exist.
Right.
And in the way that they do.
Right.
You just sort of allow that to happen.
It seems archaic, I think. Very outdated. And I don't know why they allow that kind of shit. But I know, respectively from where you and I both are, we would never fucking have that happen here. You know what I mean? It's like different worlds completely.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones you got to really worry about is, I guess, the big number people, and that would, with military-wise, and that'd be Russia and China. And I don't understand why aren't we all talking to each other? How come we're not like all trying to communicate with lines, in terms of all the apps and just we see each other. I now that I've been on the apps, I look at the people in all the other countries and just random communications. We're all doing the same shit. Everyone's like looking around for something to buy or to straighten something up, or they're chilling, having a smoke. or they're just waiting for something to happen. And like nobody who actually fights the wars wants to fight the wars. You know, I feel like we've got to be fucking close to just hanging out, you know, instead of having all this resistance and stuff. So I'm hoping to see a big break in that direction in the near future, honestly.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. I was talking to Scott Page from Pink Floyd, and I said to him one day, I'm like, I know it'll never happen, but what if for like a day, just everybody, even if it's just the US or like whatever, what if everybody one day just did shrooms for the day? You know, maybe it would mellow them the fuck out and make them realize we're not the center of the universe. We're just this tiny little part of it all. And we might lose the ego and, you know, not be such dicks, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing that psychedelics will do for you. And that, you know, everyone talks about the benefits. And that's probably the greatest one, you know, is just perspective of yourself. Because you kind of go outside yourself there for a minute. And when you get that perspective, it's kind of priceless.
I love it. I'm a big fan, actually.
I've done enough.
You know, I'm just getting started. I literally, I don't know why, but it took me till this year to actually do shrooms for the first time. And it wasn't the last time either. It was several times after that. But, you know, like I told Scott, I said, I'm actually glad I waited, because in high school back in the day, it's like everybody's goal is to get fucked up. And it's like, that's not the move, man, not with shrooms. I'm glad that I waited so I could respect the experience and really kind of go into it with intent, you know what I mean? And get something out of it that was beneficial and not have a really bad trip. Because in high school, you always heard about people having these really whacked out trips. It's like, because you just want to get fucked up. Like, you know, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's not something you want to play with, man.
It's hilarious because, you know, you don't know that when you're going to do it, right? You don't even really know at that point that you have an ego and what it is, and then you hit the mushrooms and they come at you, and you get this whole life lesson. You know, it's like you thought you were gonna party, but at the end of the day, like, you miss your mom, you miss your dad, you're glad to be alive, and you know, it's just wow. You know, it's a trip, and people don't really understand that, I don't think.
It's really cool though. I mean, I think, you know, I make tea out of this shit, and then it hits you harder, faster, and it's really cool. You don't have that like 1 hour wait for it to kick in. It's just like almost like within 15 minutes, you're like, ah, shit, here it comes, you know. And then you're just so mellow, you know what I mean? And it's the most relaxing thing I find every time. There's no stress whatsoever. Like anything that would normally fuck with me or stress me out is just not even on my radar. It just doesn't exist anymore. That feeling of stress just isn't a thing. And apparently my cat wants to be on the show. But my co-host. But, you know, I love it. It's just like, if ever you need to unwind, I think it's the go-to. Maybe even more so than weed, which I love weed, so I ain't bad-mouthing weed, but I think it's next level shit.
Yeah, speaking of weed. I love these, man. I love these little pens right here. They're so, like, they're clean, they're neat, they're convenient. You know, they're discreet. They look.
No grinding.
You know, I always use my fingers. I still like to roll a blunt and you know, something like that every now and then. But for just that quick sort of deal, no mess, no ash.
Right. You know, weed is awesome. I know it for you guys. It's a little bit weird because I know there's certain states where it's not even legal yet, and it just seems so fucking weird to me.
Yeah, you know, it's the fact, it's the limited legality of it is what's keeping it in business still, and to a large degree, you know, for a lot of people, you know, because the establishment in California now, which, you know, it's where most of your pot's always going to come from. The same thing as most of the other produce, at least the variety, and you know, it's really weird going into a place that has a medical side and a non-medical side, because we basically tried to leverage the medical shit to like everyone just smoke, okay, you know, and then the government was like, you know what, fuck it, just let them smoke. So there's this whole huge effort that's just trying to stay legitimate as fuck, you know, and they're just not. It's like, you guys have been smoking weed to get high, and no one's got a medical problem, you know.
And then on our side of the border, it's across the board fucking legal. And I literally can shoot a text to a dispensary and they bring it to my door.
Yeah, I live out in the boonies, so I can't do that yet. But I can't do it with pizza either. So,
Oh,
but
fuck.
it exists.
You know, one of life's 6 jokes is you'll be able to do it with weed soon, but not pizza. So then when you're starving, it's just not happening.
I don't understand why. So I thought about doing the delivery thing for a while. You'd have to have your own crop to make it worthwhile, you know, sell your own stuff and deliver. But, you know, right now in the dispensary, it's like $50 for an eighth. And so, yeah, so, and that's good bud, right? There's like $35 eighths and stuff like that. But that's like the cheapest. So you go into the club, you get $50 bag. And, you know, for me, the closest drive for a decent shop is going to be like 30 minutes. If I drove that, you know, that's $50 an hour.
Right.
That it's like people don't want to do that. They're like, nah, you come get it, brother. I'm like, what if I can't? You know?
Yeah,
it's
dude.
like,
out here, fuck. I got like, I think it was like close to 7 grams because they gave me an extra just for being loyal, and like some edibles and shit. And it was like $45. And I was like, holy fuck, that's dirt. And it's strong shit. You get some really, like, I'm the worst. I'll bust out some tequila and I'll start eating the fucking gummies and I forget they're weed. And I'm like, these are really good. And I fucking down a bag and then I'm like, oh, I'm dumb. When it starts to kick in, I realize, oh yeah, these were weed, weren't they? And I'm halfway through the bag. I'm like, fuck it. And I just eat the rest. I just fucking have a great time.
I can't eat that much, but like I'll get more fucked up than I do on mushrooms. I'll get hella paranoid and shit. Start thinking about my life and mortality. And
I'll try to play video games like very ignorantly because I suck when I'm high. It's the worst display. I remember at one time I tried to play Resident Evil 7 while high as a kite. And I was like, this is too fucking intense for me, dude. This is like, because it's all first person and it's really dark and it's really fucked up. And you feel like you're actually there. And when you're that high, you're like, nah, this is fucking me up, man. I need something a little more humorous than this shit. So, not my speed, man.
so what else is Canada good for?
Oh, man. I mean, we obviously love our beer, and it's stronger than the U.S. shit. I know that for a fact. And I know some Americans that I know are a little bit pissed off about that, but our standard beer is like 5% alcohol, and then the light beer is like 3 or 4, usually 4. The super light shit's like 3%. And then we got that strong shit that's like fucking, 6.5% or some bullshit. And it's like, fuck, you get pretty wrecked pretty quick.
Yeah, for real. I think craft beer like got super popular, at least in California, about say 10 years ago, and it's kind of kept its thrust. And I like a good IPA, and I like a good whatever for like purposes of just getting fucking drunk, basically. But I don't know, man. I can't drink all that shit anymore. I just get like way too bloated. I can't eat food,
Right.
But
I'm the same way, man. The bloating fucking blows, and I'm like, I can't do this all the time anymore. Once you hit your 30s, man, it's over. That's a wrap. You can't do this shit like you're fucking 19 anymore. It's fucking garbage.
Yeah, now I'm only 6 foot, but I've always been a pretty heavy guy until the last 5 years of my life. And when I started drinking beer, the benefits were just like I can't do that no more.
Right, and especially with this pandemic bullshit. Not all the gyms closed for a few months, and it was like, oh fuck me. And it's like I spend 4 hours a day in that motherfucker. I can't be drinking beer all the time and not going to the gym. I'm gonna get fucking fat as shit. I can't have that.
And then a good beer anywhere is gonna be like $6-7 for like a nice pint or something.
Right, fucking bars, man. I know. I used to own one, so I know the inflation blows. How the fuck is SoundCloud treating you?
You know what, man? I fucking hate SoundCloud right now. I love it and I hate it. I've had it for so long, and it's my go-to because I've got friends on there. Like I've had a lot of experiences on there with my whole music thing, and I feel like, so when they switched over to the stats, about the same time, I had a little bit of a rush of U.S. followers, and for the longest time, and I've got hundreds of screenshots of. I've got 50 different countries on my page usually. I've got a huge spread, a lot of diversity, and I've talked with a lot of different people, and I did that on purpose. And now it's like I've got Alaska and I got America, and it's like nothing else, and it's sudden. It's not even Canada. I don't have anyone in Canada. I don't have anyone in Mexico. I don't got anyone in Germany. I don't have anyone in the whole Asia fucking continent. Not one stat, and it's just boom at the drop of a hat. So I don't like it. And I think it might just because content's overflowing and everywhere. So, they reprioritize the algorithms for distribution. But what I don't like about SoundCloud and everywhere else, is the algorithms and how they operate is a secret.
Right.
And you want to know how the algorithm works? I know how the algorithm works, because if I was Nathan, and I am Nathan, and I had nathanfucking.com, and I'm about to have nathan.com, what am I going to do? Whatever the fuck I want with Nathan.com. So I'm going to say there's an algorithm, and the algorithm is me deciding what the fuck I want to show and to be exposed to people. And that's what's going on. And no one can ever make that sell, online, because, well, the value is having lots of traffic so you can track the data. And if you tell people what the data is or how they track it, then they can pretty much figure out what the data is you're tracking. And then they find out, well, that's really valuable for them. And all of a sudden, when you push I accept on your cookies button, realize that, you're trickling all that data into people who are going to use it to sell you shit. And that's cool. I'm not against that. My mom and dad are like, they know we need milk. I'm like, we said it like a million times. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about that. But what I am worried about is constant exposure to things that they want to sell me rather than what I want to see. Because, after you see something subliminally a million fucking times, you walk into Rayleigh's and you're thirsty. It's like, why did I grab a Pepsi today? Well, because you flash Pepsi a million times in front of your face. And,
right.
And that shit works. Like I love psychology, and I know the power of influence and suggestion. And, commercials are a hypnotic state, and then they make these suggestions to you, and then it's like post-hypnotic suggestion. When I go into Rayleigh's and buy a Pepsi, I don't even like Pepsi. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
I hate SoundCloud. I do. I stopped fucking with them for the most part, because I was paying them, and he's drinking Pepsi. Beautiful. Proves the point.
That's why I was saying that, though.
But, fucking, I was like, why am I paying these assholes for another platform for my show to be on where I have unlimited uploads, when it's like, the only way I can monetize with you dicks by having a show rather than being a musician is by charging my fucking listeners to listen to my show, which will never happen. And it's like, I make $30 fucking for 30 seconds of ads that I can copy and paste into each show for 4 shows. I made 30 fucking bucks for 30 seconds. And with you dicks, the only way I can make a dime is by asking my listeners to pay to listen to me. Fuck that. My fans deserve better than that, and I'm not doing it. So why am I paying you fucks with no monetization possibilities? I don't need to. I'm on better platforms. I'm on fucking iHeartRadio. I'm on fucking Sirius. I'm on everything. I'm not some indie fucking podcaster that's on fucking Anchor or some bullshit. So what am I fucking paying you guys for? It's stupid. So I stopped that shit. And I don't update it really anymore. But now you got me wanting to fucking find your profile and follow you and listen to your shit and see if they tell you that I did. See if Canada shows up to prove a point, right?
Yeah, I think it will too, because I just think they legitimately aren't distributing the content. I know that there is an algorithm and it does it. I overemphasize the points of things sometimes to make my point clear, because I can get off track pretty easily. But I gotta nail myself to the wall as I go. These fucking people, SoundCloud pisses me off because it's the core of music in terms of open platforms for people to communicate. So at least I thought it was the best one, and it is the biggest. But it's really just artists hanging out together. But SoundCloud doesn't really facilitate creativity. It's all about sharing your stuff.
Right.
But getting it on there has always been sort of a hassle, and the whole fucking like picture thing is always fucked up, you know. And when I pay for the subscription and I want to go, and I'm an artist, like I get it. You know, there's other people not artists, and I click start and I sign in. I want to go to my profile, bitch. Like I want to go to my dashboard of things. The very first thing that pops up is like, you know, the feed of everyone else, and
right.
you know, most of it, the first 4 things you see are all sponsored ads.
Right.
So it's like I pay for you guys to advertise to me.
That's
shitty.
Well,
Pisses me off.
I love that you brought that up too about cookies and shit, because I think people are just now realizing that your phone mics tend to pick up some shit too that people didn't know that before. And if you say something often enough with your phone nearby, you're gonna get a Facebook ad trying to sell you that shit.
Yeah, look, I think that's smart. I love that. You know, but now that we kind of have the technology and we're aware of it, maybe someone should just tell the people who don't know, you know, you could just Google that shit. You just ask the phone yourself. Why does the phone need to tell these other people? So right. I think the whole line of devices will be coming out pretty soon where you sort of own your data. And really that's what we need is open source sort of third party representation. You know, like get.com is sort of like a storage place that everyone can go to, and it's a repository for information. They need a repository of data for people on a social scale that gives everyone needs access to that data. Basically, there's no reason why every individual who adds to the creation of that data shouldn't benefit from the analysis. That's what people don't realize. It's all about data structuring, and then data analysis, and then reporting on, because all you have to do when you have enough data is ask yourself the right questions about what you want, and then you just retrieve the necessary data that, you know, gives you insight into those things. And it's profound, man. It's fucking profound when you think about cameras. Oh man, I can go all day with that. I'm into IT a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely nuts. And I mean, my producer one night talked
Can't
about...
talk right now. I can't talk right now, Mom.
my producer talked about a vacuum for like a few minutes repeatedly, off and on, sporadically throughout the night, about, man, I really gotta get a fucking vacuum. I gotta do this, that, and then the conversation changes. Then it's back to that fucking vacuum because weed's involved. So, you know, your mind just keeps going back to... And all of a sudden, open Facebook, here's an ad for a fucking vacuum. And I was like, that's weird. You know, it's like, oh, I heard about this. Or like, if you talk about something, your phone mic picks it up and you get an ad trying to sell you exactly what you've been talking about. So me being high, and I'm kind of an idiot, so I grab my phone and I'm just like, hookers and blow. See if it gives me a direct link or some shit. But I don't know. Most people aren't familiar with this. But back in the day when TVs kind of became more of a household thing and more affordable for people, and it wasn't just a certain class of people that could have it, there was something that went down called the Brunswick Affair. And the government apparently caught on and was like, oh, hell no, and came in and removed all these TVs because of something that was happening. But I don't know. You tell me if you think the U.S. government at that time had everything to do with it. Apparently, this company that was creating these TVs, they had something fucked up going on with like this brainwashing type shit, like mind control almost, where people started to report weird incidents where, they would have these TVs, and every time an ad came on, it just sold this idea to people, because people were reporting, my neighbor across the street just got out of her car from the grocery store and carried in 2 bags of dog food, and that's normal, right? Except she doesn't have dogs. So why would she be buying dog food? Because the TV was telling her they need it. And once that got exposed, those TVs were removed from all the homes, and that company was shut down.
You know, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff, and I'm into them, and I'll follow any sort of real line of evidence, logic, or just good reasoning. or passion. You know, like when I see someone who's passionate about something and they've been doing it for a long time and they got something to say about it in a hurry, I usually listen. I've never heard of that. You know, I've heard of like hypnosis, and I've heard of television influence, and like I said, post hypnotic suggestion. As far as I understand, is the basic premise of a lot of advertising marketing, and just the whole scheme towards appeal, you know, of a product,
right?
And that sort of thing. I don't know if that. I mean, people try really hard to get hypnotized. Like I would love to be hypnotized. I just can't be. Because I follow it so closely with so much detail along. I'm like, this person's talking to me now. They're saying things to me. It's like now everyone's hypnotized, and I'm just talking to myself, you know. But I've seen, like, when I was dating. Have you seen anyone get hypnotized in real life?
I have
like a group
not.
of people get for real hypnotized.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so hypnotism will blow your fucking mind if you've never seen it for real, and you have to do it with people you know and care about. Like you got to go to a group where you bring as many people as you know. Near and dear, because when half of them get hypnotized and you see them do shit, like you're like, Jimmy doesn't do that. He doesn't like flick his tongue out in the middle of stage on a girl's ear and pass like this electronic bug or something. I mean, totally crazy shit that these hypnotists come up with. I had this girlfriend. She was like super like, you know, don't look at me, kind of shy, real tomboy. Was not girly. And she got up on stage and she acted like she was just like this princess for Justin Timberlake at the time.
Wow.
You know, and she wore skateboard shorts and she was like a dude. You know, she did not do this. But when the hypnotist told her that she was in love with Justin Timberlake and she knew all of the songs by heart and she was going to sing a song for us, she got right up and did it, man. Like it was no problem at all. And you know what I mean? Sorry, I get carried away. You just shut me up.
No, I totally believe in it. I mean, I've seen some cool shit. I watched some shows too where they really got into that, and basically it was a show. It was that show. I don't know if you ever seen it. That conspiracy theory that Jesse Ventura was doing, and that particular show was about MK Ultra and whether or not that was real. You know, or could be done. And a psychiatrist, I believe it was, or a hypnotist, actually demonstrated what can be done with hypnosis and said, just watch this. I got this guy under hypnosis. I'm going to plant a word in his head. And so when he hears it, he's going to walk like he's got a limp, like an injury. He's going to drag one of his feet, but he's not going to know he's doing it. And then so Jesse would be walking with this guy. Would call the guy's phone and say the word, and all of a sudden he's walking like he has a brutal limp that's not subtle. And he's like, "Why are you walking with a limp?" And he's like, "I'm not." He doesn't realize he's doing it.
Yeah, dude. There you go. I mean, isn't that enough? Like, isn't that enough? So your whole thing. I don't know if people are actually buying dog food. I think you totally could. I think someone can be hypnotized to do that for sure. And I don't see why the government wouldn't experiment with that. You know, when you have that sort of power and reach, it's, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely sort of thing.
Right.
I'm all for it. I think I don't believe in that. You know, I see it every day. You're gonna test that, and dude, it happens.
Right.
They don't just do that. They'll take a number away from you. You know, they'll say, you don't have a number 7. They'll take it out of it. You don't have number 7. That's simple of a suggestion. Right. And they'll say, count your fingers. And they'll count and they'll get to 11. And they're like, what the fuck? You know, like their mind is blown. Right. like the emoji, you know, and the mind blown emoji. And they just look at their own hands like, who am I? You know? And that's just because they're susceptible to being put under hypnosis or what they call post-hypnotic suggestion or just hypnotic suggestion.
Right.
It's just like when you sing a love song to someone. You can sing a love song to someone and make them feel a certain way.
Right.
No matter what. If you're a guy and a girl and that girl likes guys and you're a guy that she might like and you're singing to her kind of sweet, man, she's going to feel a certain way no matter what.
Right. And I mean, I think musicians as a whole can do that to anybody because you could hear a song and it does something before you that makes you emotional about something. It triggers a memory for you, but it's not necessarily what they were writing about at all. It's what you took from it. You know what I mean? It just seems to have that effect on you. Like they really get it, but it's like they weren't even fucking talking about that necessarily. you took from that and you ran with it. It's your mind kind of taking the ball, running with it, and it does something for you. And I think in a way that for musicians and shit, I think for anybody that listens to any kind of music, that's actually a benefit, because it might be that difference maker. They were writing about something completely different, but for you, it meant something that you convinced yourself that's what it's about on such a deep level. It stopped you from, taking your own life on your worst day of depression or something. I think that's fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the true magic of life that people don't even like. It's so close and so like subtle. It's realville. It's like you're in and you're out, baby, and
Right.
you don't notice it, because when you're doing that, that when people say that they cast a spell on you, just the word spell, which is letters. When you use words, when you say something, like when I say fuck you, to some guy who's in line and he's like kind of nervous about it, he's like, I know we could do that to someone. We could piss off our little brothers or our dads. We can just tap. Dude, that's magic, because you just know it's going to happen. And it's such a dumb thing, but that's casting a spell on someone. That's magic, and that's why I realized that for myself. I realized why I like words so much, and that's real. And the way I thought magic was real and casting spells was real, it actually exists, and it was there the whole time. And then I started thinking about rhymes, and I started thinking about this whole fucking idea about, just an idea. I don't know how much you know about Alan Watts or, what's his name? The real popular Carl Jung, but I follow those two a lot. And, just the things that I realized in a short-term period involved them a lot. And one of the things that I realized is, Jung would talk about how people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. If you think about it, like, we perpetuate the same ideas for thousands of years. It's like they're kind of like in this no time zone space that we carry them on, the ideas themselves. And if you think about everything that you do, there's a reason for it, or at least something that an individual might say to themselves or say to someone else when they explain why they did a certain thing. There are a bunch of ideas, and those ideas are just like, they're constantly there. So it's like, what ideas do you have? And like, what is it asking you to do? Sort of thing. Kind of brings us back to the military stuff. It's like that idea used to have like a place in my mind, and now it doesn't. I don't know how it even exists anymore, because how do the people carry that?
Right.
So anyways, that kind of gets off track a little bit, but it's the magic that I'm really like centered on, as a creator.
Yeah, man, and it's true, because I feel like you really get into everything you do. Sometimes you even question, what the fuck was I thinking? What was I doing that for? But you realize, okay, maybe it was a subconscious kind of a cue to do something. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's, it could be any fucking reason, but everything is really suggestion, at the end of the day. I think it's fucking fascinating, because there's so many examples of that. And, I think the Brunswick incident, I may be mistaken. I don't know the exact time frame, maybe the 40s or some shit like that. Whenever TVs kind of became more prevalent in people's homes is when this happened. And it's well documented. And anyone can look it up. I advise anybody to look it up, because it's pretty fucking interesting. But I feel like it was one of the first experiments in brainwashing, because that's around the time when TVs were coming into everyone's homes to be a mainstay, when everyone could afford it, and way more affordable. And then you look at the 80s, where I grew up in the 80s. We just talked about this the other day with somebody on the show about cartoons were basically a 30-minute fucking commercial for toys. You know what I mean? Because kids are so easily influenced.
Yeah, you're at the impressionable age. You're more limited. I think all this, for me, the way I always ground all this out when I get to a point where I can't make sense out of it, or it sort of reaches the sort of, what are we talking about? I'm sort of getting there a little bit, because for me it all ties together with limitation. So we're all, there's limited sense of awareness, and that gives room for suggestion, because there's potential void, and it sort of gives you an ability to put something in front of you to guide you forward. because we're always trying to do something, and sort of and what we're capable of. You know, I got thumbs, so I can grab doorknobs and shit like that. So like there's this basic, you know, function between our bodies and the world itself, you know, reality, shit we touch, that we can only behave a certain amount of ways. So we're trying to find the best way to behave and still get what we want. And I feel like we're all doing that, and so it's sort of okay that, you know, we're using commercials to sell toys. It's just like, at the end of the day, what the fuck are the toys doing? You know, it goes back to these ideas, like what are the ideas in the toys that bring them to life? You know, when we don't have CGI, and back in the day when you didn't have CGI, and only a couple hundred years ago, for the first time in history, people started reading in their heads, not out loud.
Right.
You know, like that mind blows your imagination when you now got this box with a television on it that sees, that you can see things like you kind of see in your mind. Because before that, bro, there was like newspaper articles with some fucked up drawing or, you know, some really shitty photograph.
Right.
So I think people got influenced heavily by it, you know, in ways that they never have been before.
And I think, too, with TV being new at the time for, you know, the first few decades, it was still exciting. And if you look at marketing, I had learned in college, we talked about this really heavy, about advertising. And it's like, look at Nike or Kellogg's or any brand. What are your, you know, at the end of the day, what are your needs as a human being? Food, shelter, clothing. But we get it in our heads in everyday conversation. I got to go to the mall. I need new Nikes. No, motherfucker, you need new shoes. But Nike's got you thinking you need Nikes. Oh, I need to get cornflakes. No, motherfucker, you need food. You don't necessarily need cornflakes. You need fucking something of sustenance that's going to feed you and keep you alive. But the brand is doing their job. They're fucking advertising to you, making you think that this is what you require. Not just any food will do. Not just any clothing will do. It has to be a name brand. It has to be, you know, it's really trippy when you think about it, because you realize, fuck, I do that all the time. You know, so it works, right?
Yeah, it does. You know, and when you think about what marketing is, and you look at the classes you got to take to become an effective marketer, you know, you might as well become a psychologist,
right?
Because you have to understand people's perception, and that's psychology. You know, whether you're looking at a mass of people, sociology, or an individual, you know, you want to affect as many people as possible, which means you have to go to the individual, and that's where the whole idea of brands come from. Brands are like archetypes. You know, they're a category of people in terms of a market. And that just means your ability to reach them, and their likelihood is, you know, a certain threshold above another group's. And it really cuts lines in ways that kind of encourage deception, and it feeds on people's you know, desire for convenience and stuff like that. And I think that's why the rebel, at some, you know, for at least some duration of time, the rebel does succeed insofar as, you know, he wins some battles but he loses the war, as opposed to the revolutionary. Is because you could just resist shit, you know, for forever, because there's so much bullshit out there. But you also have a limited ability to, like, how many things do I want to drink at one time anyways? Well, right. You got 4 slots, and Pepsi's been there all fucking day. You know, I can't stop thinking about Pepsi. And then I got, you know, water, and then I drink milk as a standard. It's just what's constantly pushed in front of you. And that's why it's important to have the billboard and on the phone and when you go inside, because they need to keep that in front of you so that when you have a choice, what's there on the ready? You know, their fucking products. So there's an important need for that, and I'm into the imagery behind it. I'm into the archetypical influence, the psychology behind it, and I do think it is intrusive to some degree. And SoundCloud doesn't do that, you know.
Right.
If they knew what I wanted, they would find people for me.
Right. And I'm just gonna put this out there now. I think between the two of us, Pepsi owes us some fucking endorsement deal or some shit. We've mentioned them enough that they should fucking compensate us at this point.
They never do. And here's another thing I don't like about SoundCloud. I get their support, and it's like, go to the blog. I don't think there's anyone who works at SoundCloud. I think there's some people who, like, I don't know, maybe they email each other, but there's no interaction, you know, of the staff of SoundCloud with the people. It's always like this veil of mystery on the other side of the webpage. Dude, I build web pages. You know, it's not hard. It's you guys have a system behind it, and the model of the business is somewhat tailored to the functioning of the website or application or both. And you guys have a plan behind that. Good business allows, you know, an honest person to actually share their business model.
Right.
That's why open source shit is getting so popular.
Transparency. And you know they're based out of Germany, right?
No, I don't know anything like that.
Yeah, SoundCloud's based out of Germany. And I've had an issue where I renewed my shit and I paid for it, and they were sending me cancellations and trying to reach somebody there that had a fucking lick of sense as to what's happening was like pulling teeth. And I'm like, oh, you're based in fucking Germany, so you probably don't really understand my full English sentence. You know what I mean? You're doing the best you can, but no wonder you guys aren't very transparent. It's like a 2-bit operation in fucking Germany. So, because if you look up their address, it's fucking Germany.
Yeah, and you know, with the international community and SoundCloud being an app and stuff, I'm not so much against that. But if there was like something peculiar about Germany that sort of like gave them an advantage, like, you know, Dubai having offshore bank accounts or whatever, you do what the fuck you want with your money, so you know, you escape the taxes that help Americans, sort of deal. I don't know what SoundCloud would benefit from being in Germany. You know, it seems like they just have certain amount. Well, basically, you know how they say they don't let people boost your fucking numbers on SoundCloud. You know, so who's giving them the authority to do that? Because I see numbers just ratcheting up, you know, on the fucking daily. It's like, you guys get hacked really easily all the fucking time. For $10 for 1 million plays on, you know, you could go get it right now. Anyone can go buy 1 million plays.
Right.
And that's what I don't like about SoundCloud, is because if you're a person who absolutely fights and relents against fake plays and shit like I do, how do I prove that? There's no easy avenue to be like, look, Nathan deleted and reported 100 motherfucking fake profiles. There's no stats for that.
Nope.
There's no stats, because all of a sudden people would be like, whoa, there's like 1 million fake accounts being deleted on the daily.
Yep.
You know?
And you will find, I think anyone that's experienced with SoundCloud will find that they get followers that are literally trying to get them to pay for fake listeners and boost the stats. Whereas, as much as they don't love YouTube, because they do suppress a lot of viewership and pretend that the numbers aren't as high as they are, they will be the first to fucking pull your monetization or boot you off of YouTube if they suspect suspicious activity. Like, suddenly you have a fucking billion, you know, views and shit like that. They will catch that. And, you know, they'll pull you off the platform. Apple does the same. If you paid somebody to give you this fabrication of, you know, bot listeners and shit, they catch that pretty quick. And they're like, that's suspicious, you're gone. And they boot your show off the fucking platform. I've heard from people who knew people that did it, thinking that they're kind of pulling one over on people. And they end up getting booted off Apple as a platform, and their show's not welcome there anymore. So I think that's cool that there are people that do look into that kind of shit and be like, how the fuck did you grow like 3,000 listeners overnight when no one gave a fuck before? You know?
So there's that, right? So there's that. And there's some of us who noticed it. So check this out. Now, SoundCloud, and I'm picking on them a lot because that's the only platform I use forever. I know all the platforms do this. SoundCloud is just a little bit looser because they have a certain amount of control. You know, it's not really connected. You can sign in with it, but there's no true connection between other accounts and other profiles. Like, Google owns everything. So if you have a Google account, you know, you just have a natural, seamless sort of connection between all your devices and your awareness, and you track things much easier. They interact with other applications much easier. Also, SoundCloud has a couple buttons shared with, you know, a preset of text. It's really not connecting. And what I don't like about them, I'm going to lose my train of thought here because I was thinking like 4 things at once. They offer, so they have okay, no, so I got it. Like, back to the plays and stuff, they're phony, right? And I do believe other websites and stuff can easily track that, because they just look at your history and the duration of time of play. They can track all that, you know, hotspot it. People come and fuck up my plays and give me extra plays just as like a promotion company. Be like, we shared your song on our thing, and I'll just get like 100 plays in 1 minute, and I didn't ask for those fucking plays. You know, it's just like SoundCloud's top promoter. They give free 500 plays for submitting a song. I thought that was a good thing to do when I very first started. So I submitted my songs to every one of them. Like, I didn't even know it was a fucking bot, right? I'm like, dumbass. And I'm like, send that in, baby. Yeah, they like my music, you know, or whatever. And then you get like 400 plays all of a sudden real quick, and you get all hyped, and you're like, wait, it stop. You know, it's like they were ratcheting it up just like crazy. Like, I'm going viral, bitch. And then no. It turns out it was a bunch of bots spamming your account through different IP addresses, rapid fire. No one actually ever cared about your fucking song, Nathan. You're still pretty fucking shitty. Just get back to the grindstone. But here's the problem. Now I got this track record that looks like I paid maybe $10 for 1,000 free plays, but I fucking didn't. And I didn't even get a chance to say no. You know, there was no offer. They just boom, they go in. So SoundCloud has a role in that. I know they do, and then so does every single developer on the planet. You know, or has any knowledge how websites work.
Right, because if SoundCloud didn't have a hand in that, they would be policing that a lot more.
It's like either you're fucking dumb because you're just letting, because apparently you get hacked all day long, or you're allowing it. What's more likely? Where's SoundCloud get any money from? You know, dumbasses like me who keep subscribing so I can see my stats, which fucking I'm bitching about, right? They give some innuendo, and I was really excited for a long time. But when they can change up, when your stats of like a history of 3-4 years of interactivity just shuts off, whoa, dude. Like, those are too broad of strokes for me. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
So it's a new development for me to sort of like say, fuck you guys.
Right. I wasn't getting the traffic on there that I get everywhere else because it's not really for shows like mine. It's more for musicians like yourself. So I was like, what the fuck's the point? And you're absolutely fucking right, because what they do, it's manipulation. Everybody likes the ego boost of, holy fuck, my numbers just spiked super huge. And of course, the first thing you think is, it picked up, it caught on. Somebody dug it, they passed it along. A few people really liked it, they passed it along. And before you know it, you know, it's like, they're going to allow that because it's good for them, because you're going to keep paying for that subscription to see the numbers climb because you're thinking you're kicking fucking all sorts of ass. You know what I mean? So you're going to keep paying them your subscription because you want to keep seeing those numbers climb and know where you're touching base, not even thinking it's fucking bots. So, of course, they're like, I'm going to allow this. I'm either going to allow it or I'm going to be behind it, because if you fucking feel like it's showing how successful you're rapidly becoming, you're going to keep paying to see that number climb, because who the fuck doesn't want to see that? You know what I mean? If you don't know it's bots, especially, you're going to be like, I can't lose touch of, you know, my numbers now and where I'm being heard, because that's how they do it. They hold the fucking location hostage. You want to know where your fan base is at, and if you don't pay them, you'll never fucking know. So they allow this shit, if not encourage it, you know.
To a certain degree, yeah.
They probably get a cut of the fucking, you know, every...
Oh, yeah, access to the AP. All it is for people who are paying attention, who know what it is, and those who don't, you can look it up. It's real simple. It's access to the API. So they have an API protocol, and inside that protocol, they have permissions. And they probably have a passcode that gives you certain levels of permissions. And for each level of passcode, I bet it's probably a little bit somewhere around maybe $5,000, maybe $10,000. So you can spam the fuck out of our accounts, create as many bots as you want. We'll clean up everyone that people report, but the ones that can hang out and don't get busted, you know, you just let them build as much as you want, create history. They look more legitimate over time. You know, our numbers look good to our marketing sales team, you know, or to our investors rather. And the most investors for SoundCloud either are fucking dumb and don't know and just played along because they thought it was a good investment, or who is it? Well, it's the music industry, because all these people say they're looking, you know, where's your following at, this, that, and the other thing. So they know that it's all fake too. The people who are supposedly the AR reps who are out there looking for these shakers and movers, first of all, they don't have access to what SoundCloud has access to. They don't have the real numbers, but they can if they want to. They go, no, what's this guy's real following? Like, every time we put a song in front of someone, they like that shit. You know, they only need like 50 different people to do that. And now you have a representative sample. You know, and a representative sample is very effective, and it also takes a lot less time. So you just toss that bitch out and find out what's really working. And if someone sticks with it long enough, you know what they do? They give you a little extra trend pattern, you know, and you do see that extra boost, and it is organic and legitimate. My thing is why do they, and how is it even tolerated that we just don't have a perfectly transparent system that works easy? You know, it's simple to track. The stats stuff has got to be open source. We've got to have a company like Git that stores data that people can see on a public scale that we know isn't being fucked with, because it's all put on there in an open format and in a network that can be monitored by anyone at any time. And it wouldn't cost anything, and it would just be good for every fucking buddy if people are being honest. So right. The fact that we don't all just say like, well, that's just what's going to happen. I mean, we just got to figure out a way to communicate fast enough like that with all this, you know, going for us. Because I'm going to put a plug in right now, and I don't work for BandLab, but when I found out what BandLab was and how it works and all the tools that you get for free in the communication, I don't know what kind of shenanigans they may or may not be involved in. But I know as far as a creator, whether it's video or audio, you have, and I'm sure there's ones that are just as good, like GarageBand I hear is very good and it's totally free as well. You know, these people create these real tools, and there's not like a lot of people out there really spouting about it, you know. You really still can't find it because there's no market for it. It's not making anybody any money. BandLab is free, and it's all the things that a creator needs to interact with another creator, like live sessions and forks. You know, it saves data for you, and I know they do it through Git because the way they structure it, that they just create copies of copies that you can change and never affect, you know, the original files and stuff. So you just have like a landscape of people fucking with other people's creations, and that's what it's all about. You know, that there's real value in that, because hey, I'm convinced I spit some shit, like I got lyrics that if people sat down and listened to, I feel like I could solve world problems, you know.
Right.
Because I'm an arrogant fuck, but I'm also a person who sits around and I think about this shit way too much, you know what I'm saying? So it's, yeah, I can get passionate about this. This is why I want a platform, though, because one of my new lyrics is, you know, tell the people to give me a platform and I'll fucking platform. You know, it's because I know, I bet I can swing for people in a way that they didn't even know a motherfucker could, let alone like I could show people how you just ask a few questions to someone who's in charge of shit, who knows answers, and find out if someone's being real or not in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, dude. And
that's why I like your show and all.
Man, I appreciate that. I actually listened to your work recently. I don't remember where I saw the link, and I was like, I gotta check this out because you're gonna be on the show. And I was like, you know, fucking, I got a free few minutes, and I was like, dude, this is fucking crazy. And I'm like so glad I'm gonna have this cat on the fucking show, because I'm in a position where I've been, you know, fucking stupid successful for 4 years, and I know that you never really know somebody's business experience, and you don't want to see somebody fucking stupid talented go into something and get fucked by the business. And with, you know, the music industry now, fuck, man, it's hard to navigate, you know what I mean? Because so much has changed. Like, I talked to every fucking musician so far, and they've all said the same thing, is it's fucking like, it's changed so much. You can't sell songs anymore and make any fucking money. You have to find creative ways to make a buck, because everything's fucking free download now. It's not what it used to be. So it's harder for someone starting out to get into it and navigate the new way, because, you know, if things stayed the way they used to be, you would have fucking, you know, been able to make mad fucking money off of selling records and shit. And now it's like everything's free, so you gotta like come up with merch and shit like that. And, you know, and now with this pandemic bullshit, so much for touring and shit, or doing like meet and greets and making a few bucks that way. It's like, fuck, dude, it's a tough industry.
And I think I could change that. And I just need people to bring that shit up around me when I'm around other people, so I can say things like, you know, it's a good thing that we can't make money off just a song anymore. You know, and the creative thing that we have to do to make the buck is we're going to have to start making a difference in people's lives in a real way up front. Like, you got to benefit from me? What are you going to do for me right now? We sort of have that demand. It's sort of like, you know, people think it's unnecessary, but not when you... you know, like I said, the things that I say in my lyrics, I feel like I can solve world problems. What does that mean? That means, like, I'll just mention something like desalination, you know, of water, taking salt out of water so that you have good enough drinking water, something like that. You know, you get on the right platform. There's existing technology right now for all this, and we've known that for a long time, to desalinate water and give clean water to more people if we had to, right? But so anytime you ever hear anything about water and people not having enough clean water, it's sort of just like unnecessary, or it's bullshit. You know, or someone's just holding off on it, sort of thing. You know, we have rights and stuff like that going into, natural water sources out of mountains and stuff. Companies have their rights to that, and they get to own it. You know, that's kind of absurd stuff. But really, just these rules and regulations and these ideas behind business and what's effective, because we all have so many talents and skills. What do we actually need to do to help each other pass the food and water thing? You know, it's a sort of entertainment, but it's also something that carries your spirit and moves you forward. And music does that. You know, passions that you have for sport does that. You know, and that's why I think you like your fighting stuff, because you do have an animal, a monster inside you, and you know the world is kind of its own monster, and you have this this dynamic of how do you exercise that. And I think true sport, MMA, is probably the closest you can get to full realization of your capabilities physically, with nothing else but your own person. You know, it's like the guy who beat the Predator for the first time. There's this huge thing for that, because when you maximize your potential, which is goes back to self-activation, people being self-activated, you reach potentials and capabilities that you never thought you were capable of, and you usually shatter through them, because the more you do and the more you're around, the more you become capable of faster, and it keeps growing and growing bigger and bigger. And I think there's a certain amount of stifling necessary on the internet because it's so free. I think these people a lot of us don't realize maybe, is if there isn't suppression, we'll literally blow the internet up, you know, because we'll all interact so fast. It's kind of like a fuse that burns itself out before the bomb sets off.
Right.
I think they temper the internet a little bit necessarily, just because people are so fucking crazy and so wild and so willing to sit on a computer for 24 hours a day for like 2 days straight. They'll learn so much shit so fast, like I did when conspiracies came out. Like, I don't trust the world. You know, it really changes the behaviors and dynamics of people. So I don't know, man. I feel like on every day, if I think about it long enough, I come to a point where I'm like, well, I'm just going to sing a song, you know?
Right. You know, and I think that's, that's what I love about doing the show the way I do is, if you were to do some robotic Q&A bullshit where people think that they're the first to ask you the same fucking question that you've been asked 7 billion times, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to put this out there and talk about the shit that what your goal is, what your mission statement is, what exactly it is you're setting out to do, or your beliefs. You know, it's like people don't want that kind of depth or truth when they're doing these prepackaged, mass-produced interviews. It's just the same old questions, and they give you like 30 seconds to answer. Then it's like, all right, cool, next question. And, I was talking to someone the other day on the show that said, this is what I love about your platform, is that when you mention something, you ask a certain question, it may make me think, oh, that reminds me of something else. But if there's a follow-up question, that's out the fucking window. You don't get to even elaborate or talk about the thing that it reminds you of and get into that a little further to get it more in depth. And that does fucking nothing for the listener or the potential fan that is kind of like, hey, I like this dude, I'm going to check out his work. Instead of giving them the opportunity to kind of relate to you even more, those fucking interviews are kind of snuffing that out. Whereas here, people can see what you're about, what your mindset is, what your goals are, what your beliefs are. And if they relate to that, they're going to be fucking way more inclined to say, I'm going to support this cat's music and shit because we are like-minded. You know what I mean? And you don't really get that from just that. Okay, so tell me about this. Okay, great. 10 seconds of answering. All right, that's great. Fuck you. Now on to the next. It's like, don't ask if you don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's like if you can structure questions the way you want all the time, you can sort of build these frames of points of view that people look at and depend on, to sort of judge a character. And then it becomes much easier to sort of create a character, right? Because you already have trained people how to perceive your image, and then you just prop that bitch up how you want it to be seen, and it's like that's the truth now.
Right.
So, it's just influence and stuff like that people want to maintain. When you regularize anything, it gets predictable. And when something's predictable, you can anticipate it. And what's that? Conor McGregor used to always say, timing beats speed and precision beats power, something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they do.
Right. And to me, I feel like the most successful people have always been, like, my success always came from being accessible to people. I've told people a billion times, and they're probably so fucking sick of hearing this, that, when they freak out when I hang with them and I'm at a signing or something, or I fucking go to an event and I hang with them and I shoot the shit. And they're like, oh my God, you are so cool to me. I'm like, dude, I'm just a dude with a cool job. Like, I'm no better than you. I'm no different than you. I'm a fan too. This is why I do what I do, because I'm a fan of it. So, there's my influences that I dig. So when you can expose that with people and they seem more like relatable and more within reach, and they're not so unattainable, and you don't put them in this light where people will never fucking relate, it doesn't really help the person's career. I find when people realize that they can relate to you and it's like, wow, we have this in common, they support you, because like you are them in so many ways. You're like an extension of them, and I think that's what people look for, is that connection, especially with music. I feel way more so than like MMA. And that's why I catch myself anytime I say shit where I will talk about, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll say some shit about like, man, who the fuck was I talking to about this the other day? And then I'll be like, fuck, I do so many interviews and shit with like other celebrities and shit that, it's a blur. And then I catch myself like, oh yeah, poor bastard doesn't risk concussions, getting punched in the head for a living anymore. He has to sit all week and talk to fucking other celebrities and shit. What a fucking hard job. What a pity. Like poor me, right? So I catch myself and people are like, okay, he's not even fucking trying to, act like that's such a burden. It's, you catch yourself and you have to know how people might perceive things and catch yourself and take that away from them. Take away the excuses so they can't perceive you in a fucked up light, because people will do that. They'll find anything wrong. And so you got to catch yourself and be your own toughest critic, right? But if you can relate to people on that level where they realize, oh, it's a human being that's just kind of doing their thing, I think they really dig that. I think they really resonate with that and relate to it. And then they're like, I want to support this because it's not that prepackaged Hollywood fucking garbage that just seems so disingenuous and so fake. You want the real shit. I think we're coming full circle where we want to support people that seem like real people.
Yeah, and that's where I think the opportunity to have to be creative to make money, because what money is, at least in our monetary system, is the value of an individual's effort or work, work done. We allow ourselves to bank, the effort given for a task so that you can use it elsewhere. That's really the value of money today. That's why they say when money's in circulation, it has more value, because in circulation means that there's work being done to transfer it. And that's cool, because the more people who do things, right, the bigger things get and the more to do, the faster they get bigger and do things more. So there's like this accelerated rate. And what we realize with the economy now is that it has just like everything else, has an ebb and flow, just like music and a sine wave, and there's a vibe to it. There's a vibe to the economy now. And we know that the vibe is a pulse, that goes up and down to a certain degree. And we're trying to manage that right now. So when I think about that, and I think about what people said, when I first started getting into like new age stuff and millennial shit, it's like everyone, what does it mean to vibe with something? It means to resonate with it so that you sort of move the same with each other, you know, and you're moved by each other in a sense. And I think the connection that we have with each other, you know, when you're talking about structuring yourself in such a way so that you're perceived, at least in a way that you're putting yourself out there. Like if I tell my son, go get a hammer, I don't really care what he feels about it as long as he comes back with the right tool.
Right.
You know, so I think is with ideas, it's like that for us on the most basic level. Is like, as long as we share enough of the same ideas, we will cooperate with each other, right? I was saying earlier how like ideas sort of inform us about what to do in the moment with an object. An object itself doesn't have meaning or value to it, but the idea or the application that you have for it all of a sudden brings value to it. Like the rock can be a door stopper, or it could be a tool, you know, or it could be an ornament, or what the fuck up. You know, you can make it into all sorts of things, but it's how you perceive the object that it creates the value in it. And we can do that with words, bro. And that's like going right back to magic. I just get crazy with it. So I think we could change the world with just having conversations like this.
Right. And that's why I do what I do the way I do it. You know, it's, I think you get more value out of it because it values my guess, if that makes sense, because it makes me kind of realize, like, I know for a fact going into this, you could have a world of fucking things that are beyond what I know about you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're a musician, but if that's all we talk about, I don't think I'm giving you the due credit that you might have a fucking brain load of really fascinating things to put out there and to talk about, to express who you are. And I think that's doing a huge disservice to not only you, but to my listeners. So I'm like, why not just give you an open platform to talk about whatever you want to talk about? Because that represents you in a way that only you can. That's not something I can do for you, because only you can be you. It's not my place to tell you who you are or to tell people who you are based on my questions. It's, I want you to be able to represent yourself in, you know, a platform where you don't have to censor yourself. You can just be you. And then it really shows people who you are. And I think that's way more comfortable for the guests. And then there's, you know, if you want to like simplify it, there's the other side of the coin too, where when you do something for a living, as much as you may love it, you're also a human being. It might be the last fucking thing you want to talk about because it's all you ever have to talk about with interviews. It's like, okay, look, man, I get it. I do music for a living, but I also love, like we were talking off air, I also am fascinated by paranormal shit, or I have all these other interests that I'd like to finally get to talk about. And when you have free reign to just talk about whatever you want, I think it makes for a more fucking fascinating dynamic. And, I think people enjoy it more, to be honest.
Well, you know, it's like I got to grow up with, you know, well, my mom apparently saw like half the cartoons I did when she was a kid, right? So there was this nice little overlap of story and process of story. And story's been really important to us. And Joseph Campbell is the one who taught us that mostly with his book, The Hero of a Thousand Faces. The Hero of a Thousand Faces is all the fact that people everywhere sort of have a similar structure to their story. And since we've already all seen Peter Pan, we've seen Batman a million times, right? There's no real new stories out there. There's no new faces. So that's what we get to do. Now we get to tell our story. We realize like we are our own Batman, you know, everyday life. Now we get that. Now we get that, you know, there's a Wonder Woman in every woman, you know, and there's these true characters that live in us, and we're getting back to these archetypical roots, you know, because we resonate with certain characters in a certain way. You see certain characters, you're like, yep, that's my little brother, you know, it's like hands down, he's Batman and I'm Robin, or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we get to find that on a grand scale now. And as long as we can do that, and we can see that people in China, you know, are also the same, and that they do the same stuff, and like at the beginning of the show, we'll be, you know, when they say $20,000 a signing bonus to join the military, for what? What are we gonna do? Like, how come we have guns that blow shit up, but we don't have guns that like make plants grow hella faster. You know what I mean? There's like no effort towards that. There's no one. I want like a dude like you who's an MMA fighter who's tough as fuck, tough as nails, to like run into motherfuckers' houses and be like, clean your room, you know, like get shit together. We're gonna organize the fucking bills. We're getting shit together today. You know, like, and if people say no, it's like, for real, no, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like, I like you and you like me, we're friends, but we're getting shit done today. You know what I mean? Like, there's no army for that. How come there's no army for that? There's just an army for shooting people. I want the army that goes to San Francisco and gets the bum off the street. It's like, quit shitting on yourself. You know, it's like nonstop all day long, like a drill sergeant does in your face. You know, you stand up straight and tall. Get the drill sergeant out there and just, but someone who, like, hey, bro, you probably shouldn't be shitting on yourself. Like, you're doing a lot of drugs. Most people could do quite a bit of drugs and be okay. You've gone over the limit, buddy. And let's just reel people back in. Reel people back in. And how much would that cost?
Right.
Nothing. We already pay the soldiers. Send the soldiers into the country when it's peaceful. When it's peaceful, so it's not like they're going to take over the world. No, there's people in the inner cities rotting to death because they're sitting in their shit. And we have people that we're paying in the military to learn to do medical. You know, we're going to wait till we go to war. Half of us are dying, and then all those medical skills are going to come into play, baby. Like, how about right now with all the people sick in San Francisco and all the people being shipped out into the different communities because there's just so many homeless?
Right.
You just get the National Guard in there to throw some Band-Aids on these motherfuckers, throw some tents up and be like, no, bitch, it's 10 o'clock, bedtime. You know, like, see this? Like, this is what guns are for now, people. It's for the ones who are shitting on themselves in the middle of the road so that they don't run out of the tent tonight and go, shoot up heroin again. We're just going to get them sober again, man. They lost some rights. You know what I mean? It's like,
yep.
You can sign up for the military. Sorry, I'm getting carried away with that. But
no, it's true.
Someone called the colonel today. You know, there's like 100 million people between me and the fucking guy who runs Travis Air Force Base. But if I try to get a hold of that guy, whoever the fuck it is, I don't know how to get a hold of him.
Right.
But when you fuck up in the military, like, you don't do the right thing for 2 days, like, you'll meet that guy.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, you're going to jail. And you're like, oh, right. Fuck. But you know, let's just help some people out.
I'm just going to I'm just going to put this out there. If anybody wants me for 20 grand to come yell at their kid to clean their room, I'm available.
What if the state was willing to pay you, you know, like a bounty hunter? You can go get money for a bounty hunter for them to go to jail. But what if you successfully brought someone from homelessness to a job and to you know, got an education or whatever, just better themselves to the point that they're a functional, contributing member of society? Is there just like a repository of reward for that? No, but that'd be a hell of an accomplishment, wouldn't?
I've done that out of pocket, and it was the coolest thing that I could say I've got to do. And nobody paid me to do it. Nobody asked me to do it. I just thought it was the right thing to do. I made some connections, and it was just something that was hard on their luck, man. They just, you know, I got them cleaned up, and I fucking gave them a place to stay. I paid for it for 3 months. I introduced them to someone that was looking for some hired help, and they're still working today, and, you know, really grateful. And they wanted to pay me back, and I was like, not a fucking chance. I don't want your money. Like, you fucking have repaid me by just getting, you know, back on track where you needed to be and taking care of yourself. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to give you the opportunity, you know. And you know, I talked about this with a friend of mine about how people feel like they did their due diligence when they give money to a homeless person. And I mean, it's in the documentary that was made about my life that at 15 I lived on the fucking streets until I got into a better situation because I left home at 15. So I know what it's like, and not everybody's story is the same. And I never, you know, fucking asked people for money or whatever. I came prepared as best I could. So, but people go through hard fucking times, and you think by giving them money and shit, you're doing this great thing, and to a degree, sure, you are. But you also seem to forget down the way, you know, along the way, that what they're also very much lacking is communication with people. They feel isolated from the rest of the world because you give them money and go on about your day, about your precious, you know, comfy, cozy life, and they don't have this communication with people. So I was like, this dude, I see him all the time, and I was, you know, I just became really successful. So I was like, okay, I'm not just going to give you money. Let's go out for a steak dinner and let's talk about how you got here. Let's compare stories, because I was there too, and treat him like a human being. And I put him up in a motel for 3 months, and I said, I've got somebody that you can interview with. Here's some new clothes, get yourself cleaned up, shave and whatever. And you got a job interview coming up. I made a connection. I let them earn it. You go for the job interview, you get it. He's working for them ever since, and he's thrilled that he's now renting a place of his own. And somebody cared, and somebody talked to him like a person, didn't just throw a few bucks at him and feel like they did their good deed for the day, which is great. I'm not knocking that, but sometimes we got to realize these are people, and human interaction is something we all require. It's not just about the money. Sometimes just sit with someone, talk with them, you know what I mean? Treat them like they still matter too. It's just a hard, bump in the road, and that it doesn't define them. It doesn't make them less of a person, because we've all been there. We've all gone through hard shit. And so that's what I did. And it was the greatest thing I fucking ever did, because it made a difference for somebody, and that's so important. And again, going back to the shrooms thing, we're all just a little piece of the bigger picture. We're fucking not so important. No matter what I do for a living, no matter what fucking people I know, celebrities and shit like that, we're all just fucking people doing the best we can, Yeah,
and people need, and what the benefit of the immediate benefit of recognizing what you said as being maybe not if true for you immediately, but at least accessible, then that's empowering. You know what I mean? You can do something with that right now. Right. And if you accept that with yourself, like you give yourself a sense of purpose. And I think that's kind of like the paradox of limitation, which, if I take it to my roots of limitation, is really what Christians mean when they say the original sin. To me, it's just, you're fundamentally limited. And to me, that's what sin is. Like, you can never not be a sinner, because you'll always be as limited as you already are, that you can't overcome. And I when I realized that for myself, I realized, limitations are something you can rely on, and you should embrace your limitation. And we don't do that. We don't embrace our limitations. We do everything we can to cope with them in a way that sort of like disguises them, or we, like Batman literally becomes Batman, right? Because of his fear, he embraces it to the point that it literally becomes him. It's sort of neurotic. That's what an example of neuroticism is when it actually permeates into your physical life in terms of behavior, right? In a theatrical sense. And Batman sort of does that. He's a little batty, right? And I think that's important to know. When each person is pushed to their max, self-expression, it sort of makes what Freud discovered, and I think he nailed it really, was Thanatos, which is the whole thing about the whole Thanatos and the killing of people, is we have a fundamental fear, or at least a fundamental awareness of our mortality, that fundamental limitation of our existence, and we have actually found something that can reach up against that, and it's what you already did, man. It's helping another person like that, and that's great. You need to be recognized for that.
I feel like you nailed it. Our biggest limitation is that time is not forever. And so some people do kind of embrace that limitation and try to fit as much, I think, into that unknown time window, because we don't know when we're going to go. You know what I mean? So we do try to, like, some people will take that limitation and make the best of it and try to turn it into a positive and just try to experience, I think, as much as possible in that time frame that I think there's a really huge benefit we overlook with not knowing if we're going to see tomorrow or the next hour or who knows, right? So to try to accomplish as much as possible and leave your mark, I think, is extremely important. I think that's Probably embracing the limitation, like you were saying, because I know a lot of people are probably thinking, what the fuck do you mean embrace your limitations? Like, people hear limitations and they view it as a negative thing. But if you really try hard enough to put it in perspective as a positive, you know, a lot of things that are negative can be the reason why you do such positive shit. You know what I mean? Fear sometimes can motivate you to be the best possible. Fear of failure, it can affect people two different ways. They either never try because they're terrified of failing, or they give it 110% because they do not want to look like a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And
whatever it is, yeah, it's motivating.
Right. It's perspective at the end of the day. It's how you look at something and how you want it to work for you. And you have to kind of know how to manipulate those negatives until they're a positive. So I think your point is exactly extremely accurate. And I don't think a lot of people really think about that kind of thing. I think maybe you got to do some shrooms and shit to fucking get on that level.
Yeah, you do, baby. Yeah, you do. Hey, no, but I've really put a lot, and I've had great teachers. I've had people that teach me a lot of stuff, and I've thought about things in a way that let me communicate it. As long as I have a good person to bounce ideas off of, I can spin it around different ways. And I think to really nail something just really serious, you know, down for the limitation thing so people can grasp it, it's if you embrace the fact that, you know, you can't see everything behind you and in front of you at the same time, when you're driving, you'll probably pay attention to the road. You know, if you accept that you're limited to your literal point of view, you're limited in your periphery, you keep your eyes focused on the road ahead of you, because, well, progress is forward, one, but that's also the direction you're hopefully headed to. And you have to make certain assumptions about things that's usually already behind you, or three. And that's really important. And you can get as sophisticated as you want with that on any subject. And if you do it right, you'll just be honest with yourself about what a thing is, and you'll know how to treat it. You know, and then what that does for me, it takes away good and bad, that polarity of like tension and separation. And it provides me with the ability to unite with ideas with other people, like almost seamlessly. Right. Now it's all about how it's like a selfishness. It's a really cool selfishness, because I am all of you guys, you know, points of view on me reflected back, like literally like light. But there's also in that, and I say light like limitation because I was talking about vision and the direction that we see things. We can then orientate ourselves towards something and literally provoke out of us aspects of ourselves that maybe we want to get to know. And you can literally self-engineer your personality by exposing yourself to certain people. If I go around a bunch of chicks for the next 4 years of my life, and they're really like top end, you know, typical females, I'll probably behave a little bit differently at the end of that. You know, so there's a certain influence, and if you can structure yourself properly, I mean, I think we could take ourselves to limits we never even thought about that are just right under our noses. You know, I think they're really subtle things.
Right. I think introspective looks are so important because that cures ego right quick, if we're being honest with ourselves. And then it makes us take accountability for our shit, because there's far too much finger pointing. And, you know, we try to justify a lot of shit. Like, somebody comes at us a certain way, we will be quick to respond in kind, when it's like, you could have been the bigger person. You could have just been cool and say, I don't know what this person's going through, so being a fucking dick in return is not helping anything. And, you know, my producer and I talked about this the other day, where I said, I think there's a lot of power in being able to say you're wrong and say, you know what? My bad. I fought real hard for that point and I wasn't even correct, you know, and now I look like a fucking idiot. My bad. You know, like, I fought really hard for something that wasn't even right, and now I realize I stand corrected. And I think there's a lot of power in saying, my mistake, sorry for like really defending something that wasn't even right.
Combat soldiers.
Yeah, you know.
Combat soldiers. That's the one that's in society, because they went and did the worst fucking things, and to accept that it wasn't for what they thought it was will just obliterate them. And that's the cold truth.
Right.
That's the solution to every person's PTSD is not shelling out millions and millions of dollars by, you know, just aiding these people. Like, drugs are a thing because veterans have free checks, bro. Like, that's what's supporting the price of drug inflation prices. Every veteran I know who has like a kid and doesn't watch them and shit. And I mean, there are people who I respect fully because I was in the Army and I went pretty high and pretty fast. So I got respect for them. And my perspective on them is they're just, it's tolerated and it's funded. You know, the right to maintain that pinch point in their conscious personality and stopping their growth. I literally talked to a veteran the other day and he says, I know in my brain I'm 19 years old. Because the person who he was when he was 19, he knew and has a steady awareness of what that person was willing to accept and be cool with. And if he goes beyond that threshold, he's going to have to accept and come to terms with himself about the things he's done. And he's like, not ready for that.
Right. It could be a scary thing.
Oh, it's going to be for each individual person, because if, as you get to that point as an individual, it's because you can't deal with it, right? So it's like stuff you already couldn't deal with, and then that bitch starts stacking up. It's just like dishes when you're a kid. You know, you're just like, I didn't do them yesterday, and I definitely don't want to do them now. Throw them away.
Right, and it's so, you know, like I said, there's so much power to being able to say, okay, I'm not always right, and today was not my day. I fought hard for an opinion, and that's all it was. It was conjecture. It wasn't. It sounded good on paper, but it was not even accurate. And I came at you kind of hot with, you know, defending my belief, and it turns out that it wasn't even correct. So my bad. I lost this one. Sorry for defending it so hard and giving you undue stress when you were right the whole time. I think that it makes you a better person to ultimately be able to do that so freely. And I don't mean better person in terms of better than everybody else. I mean just growth-wise.
In and of yourself.
Right. Like growth-wise, to have that ability and be humble enough to be able to say, okay, you know what? I'm not always fucking right. It's great to be passionate about your beliefs.
The passion is necessary, I think, you know.
Right.
That's what's going to drive you. If you want to, like, if I want to be the best at what I'm trying to do, the style of music I'm doing, if I truly want that, then I'm going to pay attention to the things that get me there the fastest and the most efficiently. And if you really feel that way about it, you'll have no problem admitting when you fucking suck, right? Because you'll be like, I can't have that. So you'll just nail down what you have to. And that's where I go back to that idea thing and like being honest with yourself and what you're saying now. It's critical because that's what tells you what's important in the world. And now you don't even have to prioritize anything, right? You know it's important because you want it so bad. You know that's going to help you, right? As soon as someone offers me a venue, baby, and a speaker, like if I see a crowd and someone hands me a mic, I'm like, opportunity. I'm going to shell that bitch out. I'm just waiting for it because I know what's important to me. Same thing like with a mom when she has a kid. When does she become a threat? She knows when that child's ready to go down, baby, and now she knows what her enemy is. Just make yourself known, and that's why the platform is really good. When you let people like me roam around or someone else roam around, you can find out who they are because they'll expose themselves.
Right.
You know, and that's why when you go to formal events, they're formalized because they don't want you to act out of sorts, right? They want you to behave a certain way. And that's why when you have all these politicians and shit going on, it's very structured and very formatted because they can anticipate it, they can plan for it, and they can create the image and prop it up the way they want. And you, when you do this, the transparency is like self-evidently honest, which is genuine and sincere. And that's why these things are taking off like crazy. You know, podcasts are just communications where real people have real conversations because you get that story, you get the relationship, and you get to expose some shit that makes your life immediately better. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's
just
why
by talking.
Yeah, that's why I do it the way I do. And I stand by it firmly because I feel there's way more benefit to my guests that can kind of put out to, you know, not a perception. I'm not leading the witness. I'm not, You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving off an image as how I want you to be perceived. I want you to tell the world who you are, not have me guide it. So then they're getting whatever the fuck I lead them to. Yeah, and it helps me. Like, dude, I've fucking every person that I've talked to thus far has either given me their phone number, and we're friends now. I'm hanging out with a bunch of people in December in Montreal. Um, like Kenny Olson and Scott Page and Stephen fucking Perkins and a bunch of people that I grew up listening to because we fucking meshed immediately. And, they'll text me, I text them, whatever. And it's like, this is what it is. I've gotten to meet fucking so many new friends along the way because of getting to know each other rather than looking at a clipboard and be like, okay, so here's question 1, here's question 2, you know what I mean? And I mean, you and I got mutual friends. Eileen fucking spoke very highly of you before the show, which is really a good ally to have. I mean, she's been a fucking awesome person to work with. It's been amazing. I told her the other night, I view her as a fucking friend of mine. So if she ever needs anything, just consider it done. And she hit me with a fucking text that blew my mind saying, from what I hear from every fucking legend you've interviewed, you are the best interviewer on the planet. I'm like, that's fucking high praise, dude. So it's like, man, you ever need anything from me? I think it's understood. Consider it done. She's such a badass. She won't ask for nothing anyway, but if she ever fucking does, consider it as good as done. But it's cool to get to know people this way. Now, I'm not going to do that by asking the same old generic questions that
because you're a real motherfucker, and you can't operate any other way now. You're real as fuck, so you can't put yourself in a box.
Right, and it's not who I am. Like I have no interest in that. Because I've done it. I've been on the other side of it where I've answered the same fucking questions 40 times in a day, just different faces asking. And it's like, y'all think you're the first ones to ask this shit, don't you?
And if your whole premise of of a career is based on being able to sell yourself, you need the room to be who you are so that you can be yourself, so you can find that market, so those people can resonate with you, whether it's big or small. You have to have the place to vibe, baby.
Right, and again, going back to being self-aware, I have no disillusions of like, I know I am never going to be for everyone. So I just go into it being who the fuck I am. And there's probably going to be people that are like, fuck that guy. All right, cool. Fuck me, I guess. Like, who gives a shit? Like, okay. Fuck, I don't care. Because it's my guests that leave my show that tell their fucking other celebrity friends, like, you gotta fucking do this show. To find out that I had someone on my show who is a fucking legend in the music industry, Hall of Famer, tell me, Scott Page from Pink Floyd told me I have to do your show. That's why I reached out. That's fucking high praise. I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
So if some listeners like, fuck this guy, he fucking has no structure or whatever. All right, I'm not for everybody. It is what it is. I'm not trying to be that. Otherwise I would polish myself and be all Hollywood and fucking let's fucking analyze, what questions should I ask you guys? You tell me. Fuck that. You listen to my show for a reason. I'm not going to ask you what the fuck I should ask, and then I talk about getting on my Twitch channel and maybe implementing that and having guests come on. And that allows the listener to, in real time, ask the questions they want. And then you guys get to be the interviewer. You get to get a response directly from the source. And I think there's a lot of value to that. But it's the only way you're going to get your questions asked that you really want to know, because I'm not going to do that robotic fucking played out, pretend to give a shit with the same old questions when it's like, I just want to know who this person is as a person. Because if they're anything like me, it becomes a job real fast just doing fucking interviews and shit if you don't get to actually have a conversation about whatever the mood strikes. You have full reign to talk about what you do for a living and promote your shit if you want. But if you would rather say today, it's like, man, I really want to talk about this, or I really want to talk about that, then you get to fucking do that. And I'm not gonna be like, stick to the questions, motherfucker. It's just more
like, I would say all the things we discussed today, I have scattered about in somewhere around 250 songs.
There you go. So it's all related.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's all related, it that in itself, it connects.
Yeah, I think the whole thing I started was in try to express myself, and the path of self-discovery, which is, just right in line with what you're saying with self-awareness, and then realizing what's important to me, prioritize, I didn't have to prioritize it. It just sort of does it on its own because you know what you want and what's valuable towards that. And I just started falling in love with being real with myself. And, I didn't even really do a first album or anything. I just did like a compilation where it was a whole bunch of songs that I felt like added up to, in general, everything that I've gone through. And it just, it pieces itself together well. So I posted that, and I actually got more responses out of that than I have any other playlist, really. And it's super arrogant. Like I say, I'm, the best underground rapper right now and shit. And I feel that way in my approach to it. Otherwise I wouldn't say it. So there is a certain amount of cockiness there, but there's also a sincere effort to share who I am. And man, I can't help say that resonates, and to have that kind of feedback makes me feel right with all this fake bullshit going on that, you can't track all the time. So we just got to keep at it, I think. And we'll be all right. Just keep being honest with ourselves and everybody else. And the shit's it's like a wildfire, And I'm right in the middle of one, by the way. My literally right on the other side of the hills was like the biggest fire on television right now.
Fuck, I heard about that. But yeah, to your point, especially in the rap game, like you have to have that kind of bravado too. I mean, I don't recall ever, as a rap fan, ever buying a record that said probably the shittiest rapper you'll ever hear.
I'm okay.
But yeah, like you're not going to see that on a record. It's just not going to sell, I've never, I don't think NWA ever put out a record called My Mom Says I'm Cool, like fuck, just downplaying their ability. It's not going to sell. You have to fucking kind of sell yourself and have a confidence level that sells.
Well, just in case, so people who are listening to your show earlier heard Mom barge in. So one of the things I did, and I believe in myself so much that I bought a house a couple of years ago, and I knew the market was good, and I had a pretty good idea of the money I was going to get, and I really outdid myself. I lived in a place for 2 years, did no upgrades, and I was able to squeeze like 60 grand out of it. And that's what I'm using. I just started funding my process of, trying to get out there and be known a little bit. And, I'm here at my mom's right now trying to decide, because with the whole COVID thing, I sold my fucking own home because I believed in myself so much in terms of doing this, that I can make a difference. But my whole plan was based on interacting with people, because I'll do this all day long for hours until I'll just fall asleep right here in my car. And then I'll do it again tomorrow. And I was when I was in the Army, I made it as far as special. I got selected for Special Forces, but I never trained through the Q course, for the people who know what that's about. And I went through selection, I got selected, but I did not follow through with the whole Q course. And then I ETS'd the Army. So I'm like a go hard motherfucker. Like I push hard on things, and I'm pretty smart. And this whole music thing really threw me for a loop when I now that I can't go out in the world and use that natural strength of mine, of that just relentless push. I don't know what the fuck to do. So I got this pocket full of money that I got from my house that I was going to spend on equipment and traveling and all that. And sort of sitting in limbo at my mom's house, because I got kids too, and deciding what I should do with all this. So I've got like 10 businesses lined up, and I figured I might be able to help people. So I'm sort of trying to find out what to do with that and help my mom out in the meantime as well. I'm not some fucking millennial living at home.
Right. People fucking, seem to forget that sometimes the best thing you do is give back to those that fucking took care of you and put up with your bullshit in your early years. You know what I mean? I never had a fucking mom and shit, so I don't know. I have nothing to compare it to except like what I see other people have all that great shit. And it's like, dude, I would, if I had all that, I'd fucking want to give back to those that took care of me, man. It's kind of like the gradual, I think, the nature of the way it goes, right? So, which is great. You know, people don't get too big and forget where their food and fucking shelter came from, you know, when they couldn't provide for themselves. So I think that's cool, man, to kind of give back. And I think that's just the way life goes. It's like they take care of you until the time comes that you got to take care of them. And it's the right thing to do. So anyone that knocks out's a fucking idiot as far as I'm concerned. Fuck them. You know?
Yeah, same here. But at the same time, I want people to take me serious because I actually think I know what I'm talking about when I say a lot of stuff. And other times it's total bullshit, but I'll be front about it. You know what I mean? I like to fuck around too. You know, I say arrogant things just to be funny sometimes or whatever. But I make sure not to touch on certain kinds of, you know, disrespect. Like, I really am tired of just the whole take the girl thing, but I get it, the alpha male, you know, the girl should pick the best guy too. I just don't like hearing guys say it. It's probably because I'm like the other rooster, you know, I'm like, you know, you're not saying you're the best, I'm the best, you know.
Right,
right. Bullshit like that, but you know, I just feel like there's a better way to work it out. Like, we can build on each other's strengths.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anyways, fucking, I'm getting the go home queue now because fucking the meeting is kind of reaching its schedule end. But is there anything you want to promote besides the obvious? I mean, if you got different contacts, I know you added me on Twitter, and that was good. Like, we followed each other and whatever, which is cool. So if you want to fucking put that out for people to follow, and they better do it because that's a dick move.
Nah, I really would like a genuine following. You know, anyone who just, you know, it's all about feedback and stuff. My music is going to grow, and what I'm probably good at naturally is really production. I'm crazy creative in terms of my ability to just come up with shit. You know, I mean, I don't have any limits on myself in terms of what I'm willing to consider, so I don't really get caught up in an issue. I need to work on my freestyles, but I'm pretty fucking good, and I rap about things that are sort of just in my head at the moment. I've intentionally not written about my life specifically until I was at the skill level I felt, you know, was adequate to sort of express myself. I'm there now, and I think I got some shit to show some people that, you know, people just don't say the shit that I say in rap today. Like, the not just the subjects, but the words. And I mean, half my shit is probably, if I'm not fucking around, really close to grammatically correct, and my punctuation and stuff. It's very non-traditional, and people catch on to that. I got to hit it right though. You know, all the time. I got to make sure I'm consistent with that because sometimes I fuck around too much. But if I want to promote anything, dude, it's being creative and having conversations like this. I want to do this maybe in a somewhat more, not say strict environment, but more focused in terms of like creativity with music. I'm open to doing anything with anybody that's creative, whether it's writing, whether it's you know, make an actual song, or if it's coming up with different sound ideas, or if it's voiceovers for cartoons. Any kind of, I'm all about creating content because I have ideas about what to do with that content as well. When you're done with these shows, I asked you if you want to, you know, film me or have the video on, because even though I'm moving around a lot and I wasn't prepared for that, it creates content for you. The video feed, right? That later could be used for something. And I understand the value of that when you build a trending pattern of that. And if you can find the right people to work with each other, like you and me, you know, you have a podcast and I'm trying to get heard, I can talk. And maybe just creating people's spaces within other people's spaces. So like maybe you could host a music thing. I don't know if you'd want to do that. I don't know what kind of music you listen to.
Oh yeah, everything, man. Like rap, metal, fucking rock. You know what I'm saying? Those are like my three go-to. I love old school rap. I love fucking, you know, slightly newer shit, but a lot of the shit today, man. I love more underground stuff. Like you coming out is fucking dope to me because it's a breath of fresh air, because the direction some of this mainstream shit's going in, fuck, it's just like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? How do we go from shit like Game and, you know, fucking 50 in his heyday to like this shit? I don't know, man. Some of this crap.
You know, and even them, they're great in their performances. They have great acts, and the people resonate with what they say. But what if they help? What if they help people with? And I'm not saying music has to do that or that their music should. You know, I'm not holding that against them, because I think they're fantastic and they motivated me. You know, everyone who's good at what they do has motivated me to be the best I can be, or whatever it is I can do. So for me, it's like, this is why I told our common friend, her name escapes me at the moment. Eileen.
Yeah.
She said, I told her I'm encouraged and I'm like provoked by what hasn't been said yet, right?
Right.
So people have said a lot about what they are, but I'm ready to show people right now. Like I want people to call me on it. I want to give them advice, and I want to ask them questions. Anyone who's like, whatever their problem is, I want to talk to people about that, and I want to help them get through whatever struggle they think it is. I've been forced in situations to make critical decisions all the time, you know, that are forced into solutions. So I just want to offer people as many solutions as I can come up with my creativity, whether it's for music, business, or just general life, because it's going to help me learn too.
Right.
I want to do that as much as I can, and I know I'll find a way to make money doing that because I'm a sincere person, and I'm passionate about my creativity, and I know that's valuable. Right. I got tons of ideas for apps and stuff like that. That, man, if I could just sit in a room with, let's say I got a doctor, an engineer, and a fucking an architect. I get 3 of those people in a room. I could just ask them basic questions because I can fill in the gaps of ideas I've had for years, and probably come up with some shit that people would love.
Exactly.
You know, just because you have people in the room with knowledge. I mean, that's a TV show and stuff. I have a billion of those ideas that I think would blow people's mind. If we can get like a group of people on your show, you know, some smart bodies and some illustrators, and we could all put our minds together on a show like yours with an open platform, man, I think, you know, you could do a good service.
Absolutely. And that's the goal, right? So I would love to have you back on, man, anytime. It was awesome. So I personally fucking thought it was pretty fascinating shit, and we got off on a whole bunch of subjects. So if you'd want to come back anytime, let me know, man.
All right, yeah, this is only my second interview. I'm certainly going to feel for it. I'll be more prepared next time. I'll have my camera set up nicer and everything.
Hey, if there's ever a place to not really be prepared, this is it, because we just go fucking off. Nothing structured and polished.
I think we did that. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for your time, and fucking don't be a stranger. I'll hit you up on Twitter, too, and we'll fucking find a better way to communicate, too, because email fucking blows.
I'll be blasting you my songs and shit, man. Well, you have a good one, and
yeah, you too.
Hope your fans. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot, man.
All right, bye-bye.
How we going? So that was Nate Soundz. Really cool guy, man. I had a blast talking to him. We ran long just because, why not? I mean, like I said before, if you feel someone has a cool story to tell, why interrupt it? You know what I mean? And I think he's got a great story. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I think every person starts out that way. We all have our roads that we got to go down, and nothing comes easy. To be perfectly honest with y'all, I actually didn't know at the time that my show was the first show he was ever on. It wasn't really till he was on another show when he said that was only the second show he's ever done, and mine was first, that I realized this was kind of, it registered with me, like, oh shit, you know, he's kind of not experienced doing these interview shows and whatever, but he handled his own like a boss. I think he handled it like a champ. I think he did great, and I think he's a hell of a guest, and I'd love to have him back and see how much he's grown since doing a few more shows down the road, and his music career's grown and got some traction. I would love to see how things have changed for him, because it's just a matter of time, honestly, in my view, before he blows up. I think he's got a unique sound. I think he's finding his footing, of course. I mean, don't fucking, mistake what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying this guy's like the next Eminem or fucking Dre or whatever right now, or, or 50 or whoever right this minute, because I don't think he's trying to be. I think he wants to be the first Nate Soundz, and I think that's dope. And, you know, when you start out with something, it takes many years to get better and better, and we're all just trying to do better and better. So, you know, if you dig what you hear now, just give him a fucking couple years more and see how much he improves. And I think you'll be impressed, just like I am. So, you know, check him out, show some love, and support, you know, these up-and-coming fucking musicians, because at the end of the day, if you don't, all the ones that you do love, when they retire, what do you got left? You know what I'm saying? You got nobody that speaks from the heart. They're being told what to write and what to say and all that bullshit. This is a cat that's speaking from his experience, and I think that there's a lot of value to that. So check him out on SoundCloud, show some love and show some support, and I assure you he's only going to get, you know, better and better, and eventually he's going to blow up, and you're going to wish that you were supporting him, because it's the right thing to do, man. You know, support people. There's so much shade being thrown these days. I don't fucking get it. And I think we need to be a little more supportive of people that are on their grind and trying to come up and make a name for themselves. So check them out, show some love, and I owe you all a beer because I didn't silence my phone. For fuck's sakes, if you see me up in the streets, I owe you all a beer. Just come tell me you heard my fucking phone go off. God damn. I'll catch your asses later before I owe you 2 beers. Thanks for checking out the show. I love y'all. Thanks for the support. Take care of yourselves out there.
I will not speak to your smallness, a destruction of the fear in us.